Are you looking to expand your aesthetic practice and attract high-quality new patients? Discover the power of digital marketing in growing your practice with a personalized strategy session. Schedule your meeting today by visiting www.businessofesthetics.org/MSM and take the first step towards transforming your practice with the potential of digital marketing.
You're invited to join our exclusive monthly webinar brought to you by the Business of Aesthetics community. Don't let this chance slip through your fingers. Secure your spot now for a game-changing experience. Register for free on our homepage at www.businessofesthetics.org and get set to transform your strategies.
Welcome to another episode of the Business of Aesthetics podcast, brought to you by our gold sponsors, Ekwa Marketing. Today, we're excited to welcome Michael Walker. Let's dive into his insights and experiences.
Welcome to another segment of the Business of Aesthetics Work podcast. I'm Michael Walker, your host for this episode. Before we get started, I want to thank all of our incredible listeners from the United States and around the globe. We couldn't do this without your continuous support. A special thank you also goes out to our sponsors for this episode, Ekwa Marketing. With nearly 20 years of experience, Ekwa Marketing is a leader in digital marketing services for aesthetic practices. They are offering our listeners a complimentary digital marketing consultation, which will include a tailor-made 12-month digital strategy for your practice. Just head over to www.businessofesthetics.org/MSM to book your consultation. We'll have more on that as we wrap up as well. But without further delay, I want to dive into our topic for today, which is tired of missed opportunities? How chatbots can save your practice. I am really interested in this one because this is something I don't understand as much as I'd like to. But I want to welcome back Naren, the founder, and if I may say so, the Chief Inspiration and Vision Officer, as well as his Chief Executive Officer of Ekwa Marketing. And it's great to have you back with us today, Naren.
Thank you so much, Michael. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. As the founder of the Business of Aesthetics community, one of the two founders, I really feel, what we are doing here is hopefully helpful because we have tens of thousands of people, thanks to you, who are listening to our podcast, who are part of our communities and who engage with our events. So thanks to you, we continue to grow every year. It continues to be our best year yet. Really, really, really appreciate it. And, I'm looking forward to this conversation about, missed opportunities.
Well, that's if there's anything that we can appreciate when we're in a business that is front-facing to people, there's always opportunities, and it's really easy to miss some of them. And when it comes to some of the online nature of those, it's just as important as the people walking in on the phone. But let me just start with just a little data. With studies showing that 80% of potential clients who can't reach your office will hang up instead of leaving a voicemail, what strategies can practices implement to ensure they don't miss out on these opportunities?
Yeah, I think we live in a instant society, right? You press a button and Uber is at your door in like 3 minutes. And I remember the good old days. It's raining outside, you get out there in the cold and go on the street and go to the taxi stand and stand there. And by the time you get to your taxi stand, it's like 5 minutes of walking in the rain, right? Today, we press a button and it says 6 minutes. We don't want to wait. We go and click on Lyft. And now we get Lyft in 3 minutes, right? So we are this instant society. You want to watch a movie? In the old days, you have to get into a car and go to the Blockbuster, and maybe the movie won't be available, and you have to time your, trip to Blockbuster depending on whether it's a new movie or not. And finally, you have this weekend of movie with with your DVD or VCR. Today, press a button and you could be sitting, in a train station, or you could be at home on your phone, on your device. You can watch that movie. There's so many of these online streaming. So we have become this instant society. So remember, we don't act one way in one part of our life and another way with another part of our life. The same impatient us, whether it's Uber or movies or news on our fingertips, want the same thing when it comes to, working with your practice, the experience. So let's say they're calling your office and you don't answer. That's like, they're not calling you back. They hang up. They don't want to leave a voicemail and wait for somebody to get back to them. So it's key to answer those calls. So one of the things we do for all of our clients is track the phone calls, and then tell them how they're doing in answering the calls. Obviously, the first thing we look at is, are they missing calls? Now, the number one problem practices have is they don't know what they don't know. They don't know if they're doing well, or they don't know if they're not doing well. Imagine a child who doesn't get a grade, report card. So he or she doesn't know if he or she is doing well or not doing well, right? Same thing, right? If you don't know how your phone is handled, I mean, we all assume we are the best, we are, rocking it because I hired the people who's answering the phone call and I put up the systems, the telephone systems. We all assume it's all great, but you need to know in real time. Even a company like Apple knows things in real time. Like I do something with Apple, 3 seconds later, I get something saying, "Hey, can you tell us a little bit about your experience?" So they want to track, how people feel and so forth. So find out. So missed opportunities is a huge no-no. Another thing you could also employ is, like we do this again for our clients. We notify our clients anytime there's a missed opportunity, so they can immediately call back, immediately follow up, because the gap between the follow up versus when they call you, the more it is, the less chances they're going to even remember you. Forget about, leave alone doing anything with you as your patient. So there's all kinds of technological solutions you can use. You can even have a text back that goes to the client saying, "Hey, I'm sorry we missed you. Please reply back to this text and let us know how we can help you." So there's all kinds of things you can do. But the number one thing is answer your phone. And even before that, track how your phone experience is. And we do that for our clients. And I think that's one of the number one most important things practices appreciate. Let's say your marketing is working extremely well, but if your entire journey, the customer journey is not, then you're going to lose.
Thanks, Naren. It's been quite a journey when you think about how we've interfaced with the customer. And I remember, the big deal used to be that if you had a good script on how you answered the phone and you answered within 3 rings, you were good to go. And that was kind of and then of course I can recall when we used to have elevator music and static and noise, and it was too loud, too quiet, and there was all these other things that you'd hang up on. Now, there's this whole dimension of what am I going to get? And I guess it's kind of reminds me of the Haldane a long time ago had a slogan that says, "The best surprise is no surprise." The idea of consistency, and I think now that's so critical. But I think this chatbot thing has kind of become. It's like I remember we used to have elevator operators, people that would escort you on the elevator, ask you what floor you're going on to, and move you through. It's almost in some way a chatbot. It's not this technical. It's a technical thing, but it's like an additional host to the organization. It's like your elevator operator opening the door to what opportunities are available. And second question I was going to ask is, you mentioned that traditional chat options like live chat have significant downsides, such as long wait times. So how does Ekwa's chatbot uniquely address these issues while still providing an engaging user experience?
Yeah, so let's talk about chatbots in general. What is a chatbot? It's some kind of a program that communicates with people, usually through text, right? Meaning typing as opposed to voice. They have been around for a few years now. And the reason I think you might even want to consider a chatbot is your office is open 9 to 5, but people might be on your website on the weekends, evenings, nights when you're not open, right? So they come to your website and they really like what they see. They Googled you, they found you for certain things, and they like the before and afters. They like your website, they love your reviews, and they want to do something. Now, what we are telling them is, sorry, come back tomorrow between 9 to 5, right? Because there's no way to get a hold of them. Because remember, the influence principle, I'm a huge fan of Dr. Robert Cialdini. I've been certified by him to teach his influence principles. And that's one of the things, we do. So the influence principles are very, very, very clear. Pretty much these influence principles create a moment when people are 3 times more likely to do what you want them to do. In this case, take that first step in becoming a new client. But that moment is fleeting. If you don't strike when the iron is hot, if you don't strike when they're excited, you lose them. So let's say, 7 p.m., office is closed, they're excited. There's no way to engage with them because everybody's home. Obviously, I'm not asking you guys to work 24 hours a day and not have a life and not have weekends. But why can't the chatbot, pop up and say, "Hey, how can I help you?" Right? Now, it captures that excitement and starts having a conversation. So that's what the chatbot is all about. And, so I think, and the other use cases, people may not be in a position to pick up the phone and call. Let's say they are, they see this, this friend of theirs they haven't seen in a long time who's looking 10 years younger. And they're like, oh, I need to, book an appointment with my med spa, or I need to go to that med spa I've been thinking about going. Now, they can't do that in the middle of the conversation with their friend and pick up the phone and call the med spa, but they could easily go on their phone and just, look at the website and do something, right? So, I mean, I'm just exaggerating. Or let's say they're in a bus or in a public place, work, office. So a lot of times, they may not be able to pick up the phone and call somebody because, they don't want others to know for privacy and whatnot, but they can engage with a chatbot. So a chatbot, I think, captures people off hours, and our chatbot is called, off hour chatbot. So, or it also captures people during working hours when when they are not able to get on the phone.
Yeah, it's funny. You remind me. I just last week I had to call up had to take car in for some repairs, and I didn't want to call because I knew that I was going to call. It was going to. And they've got some problems on their customer service side, but they're great mechanics. But however, having said that, I knew that if I called, they answer the phone in an area that doesn't have controlled sound, so there's all this background noise, and I find it hard to hear. And so it's just easier for me to go on to the chat and just say, "This, can I get in for an oil change? I need to do this. I don't have to have this whole long thing." I'm not saying that's a great strategy from the standpoint that they obviously they need to know what's happening on their back end. But I think it just really, to me, it's about seeing the chatbot not as a technical interference, but a technical liaison, if that makes any sense.
Right.
And so it's an interesting thing because that kind of leads us into, now we're in this new world of AI and what's real and what's not, and all the things that are going on with that. And we could do a whole, and we probably will, not in not too distant future, I'm sure, Naren, on AI and in some of the things that I've seen in the around the practices. But given the concerns surrounding AI and chatbots providing accurate or inaccurate information, particularly in high-stake industries where people's lives are involved, like healthcare, how can an aesthetic professional ensure their chatbots maintain trustworthy integrity and authority?
You bring up a great question, right? There's a couple of reasons I'm not a huge fan of AI chatbots, and one is like healthcare is really, really serious. Like this machine is talking on your behalf. So if it starts hallucinating, which is a common thing with AI, and starts talking nonsense, you are now technically liable, right? And you don't even know what it said. So you really, 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 really want to be careful with AI. And I have yet to see a company that guarantees their AI doesn't hallucinate. The second reason I don't like AI is, it goes anywhere and everywhere, right? I mean, one of the things I learned in life is if you don't know where you're going, you won't get there. Like, you need to know what your goal is. You need to know what your purpose is. AI typically will just try to answer questions and try to be interesting and try to be entertaining. And remember, you know how AI works, right? It doesn't have intelligence. It's just putting words together. So it goes and reads the entire internet, like that's what ChatGPT and everybody else does, and then it puts words together. And sometimes, like, it makes up nonsense. For example, I remember trying to help my daughter with one of her speech competitions, and she was trying to talk about, the impact of colonialism in Africa. And I just said, hey, give me an example of impact of colonialism in Namibia, right? It gave me this amazing, compelling story about this little girl called Jenny and this and that and everything else. Then I just for fun said, okay, give me an example, story, that is a true story in Zambia. Same thing. Now Jenny becomes Jamie. You know what I mean? I'm like, I was just blown away. It was making, pardon my French, crap up. Like it was just making stuff up. And you can't do that in healthcare, right? You can't make things up. You can't just put words together, and as long as it sounds good, it is true. You can't do that. So I'm not a fan of AI chatbots for that very reason. Maybe when they stop hallucinating, and maybe when we are 100% sure they're going to be 100% accurate, then I'll be more of a fan. And the second reason is, like I said, it's not just a chat device. It's more of a device that's all about capturing the person's name, phone number, and email address. Why? Because the minute you know that three pieces of information, that person is no longer a zombie, an unknown that was on your website, but rather it's a real person who now can become your patient. Now your team can call back and say, hey, Jenny, I know you were on our website 2 minutes ago, and this is what you wanted to learn about. How can I help? Right? Now, Jenny's not lost. So all the people who are lost off hours or because they're not able to pick up the phone are now being captured. So we are able to capture, hundreds of patients for our clients, over a year. Obviously, don't expect all your patients to come from chatbots. It's just more of a filler, but combined with everything else, it's a powerful filler.
Yeah, thank you, Naren. I think I hear you saying that it's it's kind of like walk before you run. That there's lots of things we probably as I'm not a practice owner, but as practice owner or managers that there's things we haven't done yet that maybe we need to do before AI is kind of like there's no point putting a Ferrari engine in a 70 Ford. Like it's just, that's not, so just being aware of the timing of things. But I think if we really look at the chatbot, really, what is it's a beautiful gift when well designed around potentially developing new clients, as well as increasing or enhancing conversion rates. And so if we think of your chatbot as being designed specifically to capture potential new clients, and we think about that as well in terms of enhancing conversion rates, can you explain how this focused approach differs from the more generalized chat services operated by various competitors?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, our goal is to literally, get the person to, like share who they are, share what they're looking for, and then capture some contact information. As opposed to many of these AI-driven chatbot, I know people sometimes jump on the latest bandwagon, even though the bandwagon is not taking them anywhere useful. So that's how we differentiate, and I think it seems to work for our clients. And of course, some of our clients will say, okay, I don't want to use your chatbot. I'm going to use some other chat. That's fine with us. But it's something that we offer as part of our service. And what we notice is, they're able to get, dozens and dozens of extra new patients, because of that, or even hundreds, over a decent period of time. So it's a great addition. It's not the primary way you're going to get patients, but it's one of the ways to like make sure those people who would have otherwise dropped off are being captured.
Thanks, Naren. And kind of going back to this we've talked about this, the whole reason for chatbot really is that we've become this society of immediate gratification. Everything is just like now, just in time. I can remember when my mother used to actually have a typewriter that she used to manually type with a piece of carbon paper to make 2 copies. And now we have Google Docs where everything happens in real time around the world and somebody can correct my spelling errors. I mean, it's phenomenal how fast information is moved. But the speed is important in some respects, and it's very efficient. And of course, in the medical field, it's been huge as far as being able to get best practices and information moving at the speed of sound, essentially. But I think with this demand for instant communication, and it's not going to go away. It's the new normal. It's not an exception. And generation to generation, it shifts on how they translate and operate in that. But in a world where users demand instant communication, how does your chatbot create the illusion of real-time interaction without overwhelming the client or the staff? And what does this mean for patient engagement and retention?
Yeah. So when it comes to patient engagement and retention, it's an additive, tool. So you have your solid SEO, you are in the top 5%, you are dominating your market. Thousands or tens of thousands of people are seeing you. You are ranking on page 1 for hundreds and hundreds of keywords. So that's like the fundamental baseline of marketing to get into that 5% club that I have talked about in my past episodes, where you have an unfair advantage so that most of the right patients are finding you first. Second, you have to influence them. So the reviews, the websites, the before and afters, the videos, any awards you win, and how do you place them? How do you use them online? Now, that's the second step. And the third step is that customer experience, right? And that's where the phone comes in. Again, we talked about not missing calls, knowing what your missed call percentage is, knowing how your phone experience is. So again, it can be at like A+ level. And then for those who, for some reason, are not able to be on your website during working hours, or those who are not able to pick up the phone and talk to you during working hours, then chatbot is the alternative. So it kind of completes the solution. So I wouldn't look at it standalone. I would look at it as part of a mix of things, because chatbot without all the other stuff is useless, right? Because remember, if nobody's finding you, if nobody's choosing you, who cares you have a chatbot, right? Like you'll get 0 people because chatbot just takes the people who are on your website or on your Instagram or whatever else and converts them into new clients.
Thank you, Naren. I think you made me think of a movie a while back called, it was called Lost, with Tom Hanks in it. He probably actually created the first chatbot. It was a volleyball named Wilson. That was he had a buddy, but nobody else knew, but he needed somebody. But of course, that chatbot today has become, it's really, to me, it feels like what I'm hearing you say is that chatbots really provide data, they provide tools and mechanisms and process that will help set us up for success. And if they're done well, and I think that, and ensuring that there's not too many steps, and we're really working towards something that is not just doing something because everybody's doing it, but doing something that just, as we've talked about earlier, feeds into all the other aspects of our online presence and marketing strategy. And I think that's the key word, is we got to have a strategy. We have to have a framework. And I know that we talked about at the top about this idea of that you're offering a complimentary digital marketing consultation, which sounds to me like a great starting point for thinking about a strategy. Can you just speak a little bit more about that to us?
Yeah, 100%. So I kind of touched in the last answer, like the overall marketing scheme, right? You dominate Google, you show up, then you influence people, and then they go on your website, and then finally the phone experience. So in this marketing strategy meeting, it's a $900 gift from us. And again, the link is businessofesthetics.org/MSM. You would meet one of our experts. They spend, several hours researching you, figuring out how well you're doing in this entire marketing journey, and give you a report card. Plus, they'll give you a blueprint so you can get into the top 5% in Google SEO. You can get into the top 5% in influencing people. You can get into the top 5% in the customer experience and being able to track it and monitor it so you can play an A+ game. So that's the purpose of this meeting. It's a very comprehensive meeting. You learn a ton, and then take that report card and the blueprint, the 12-month blueprint, and do something, right? Of course, you don't have to work with us, but now you have a tool, you know what to do, and go do it. And that's our gift to you.
Naren, when you share that, I think it's one of those things about talking about leverage, for $900, what a gift. But just to stop and think about what that can leverage in terms of return on investment in the relationships with existing clients, relationships with new clients, with conversion rates, and with overall satisfaction and joy in your own practice. So thank you for that offer. Thank you for sharing with us. We're going to go ahead and wrap up. And I want to thank you as well, Naren, for spending time with us today and sharing this journey on tired of missed opportunities, how chatbots can save your practice. I think we've touched on that quite adequately. Look forward to probably digging that a little further down the road. But I'd like to take a moment now, though, to thank our listeners. We appreciate every one of you. Big thank you also goes out to our sponsors, Ekwa Marketing, who are experts in digital marketing for aesthetic practices. Don't forget to make use of this offer we've just been talking about for the free digital marketing consultation by heading over to www.businessofesthetics.org/MSM. Love to have you sign up and be part of that. And if you like our podcast, what am I going to ask you to do? I'm going to ask you to please share it with your friends and colleagues, and don't forget to leave us a review, or as I have heard my friend Naren talk about, a love letter. We like all of those. So again, thank you very much for being with us, and we wish all of you an amazing week ahead.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Business of Aesthetic podcast series, brought to you by our gold sponsor, Ekwa Marketing. Would you like to join our growing group of aesthetic industry experts and get featured on the Business of Aesthetics podcast? Or do you know someone who would love to share their strategies for growth in the aesthetic business, providing quality patient care, or their clinical expertise? Head over to www.businessofesthetics.org podcast show and apply to be featured as a guest on the show. Remember to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Amazon Music, or wherever you listen. If you would like to engage with today's speakers or any of our past speakers, join our Facebook group or LinkedIn group by searching for Business of Aesthetics. Thank you, and have a great day.